Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Daphne Rubin-Vega is an amazing singer and actress who originated the role of Mimi Marquez in Rent, and Erin McKeown is a renowned singer-songwriter who effortlessly translates her talents to musical theater. These two powerhouses have come together with the incredibly talented newcomer, Gizel Jimenez, and Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, Chiara Hudes, to tell the story of a mother on the verge of deportation who hits the road with her estranged daughter. It's a devastating, beautiful play. Let's take a quick look at a clip from Miss You Like Hell, now at the Public.
Family sucks, but then I see sometimes my baggage carries me. Bring your drama, let's hit the road. Together we can lighten up the load.
Everybody, please welcome Daphne, Gizel, and Erin from Miss You Like Hell at the Public. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Congratulations on an amazing show. I caught it on Sunday. It's incredible. The songs are beautiful. The last song is unbelievable. The last number that you do is just, it's so great. Let's talk about this from the beginning. How did this start? I mean, you have a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright here doing the book. So how did this all come together?
This started with an email that Chiara sent me through my website, like through the catch-all, like possible spam filter on my website. She said, I'm looking to turn a play of mine into a musical. I like your music. Are you interested? And I've never gotten an email like that in my life. And I said yes. And
we know who she was?
No.
Oh. So, like,
I didn't. Embarrassingly. I didn't.
What was your first thought? Were you like, who's that? You're like, I don't know who you are.
New phone, who this? No, I Googled her, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know, comes right up. And this, I have to say, the email was before the Pulitzer. So she was just a Tony winning.
Good call, Erin.
At the time. So yeah, no, we had breakfast and she gave me the play, and I thought she was really a nice person, and I could tell already that her art was extraordinary. And so I said yes, and that started the journey.
And now, when did the two of you get involved? Because oftentimes, you know, the actors get involved with a musical while songs are sort of being workshopped and being figured out. So when did you get involved?
I got involved in 2014, which seems like
so
a long time.
To get a musical out.
Yeah. Well, Rent took 7 years. I mean, that's normal, right? Yeah. So this 2014 was when I got on board, and I read it, and I thought, this is what I must do. I must see this project through
into fruition. And what was it like, sort of workshopping the songs and the play?
I want to know this. What was it like?
Yeah. It's turned into, well, you know, so much brilliant stuff has been cut away just for the purposes of clarity and terseness, but like amazing songs, amazing poetry and prose and details to a relationship that have gone into this primordial ooze that has become the play. The musical, actually, you'd call it a play. It's a play with music.
Did I call it a play instead of a
musical?
Yeah,
but that kind of makes sense, you know? Yeah. It's a musical play.
Yeah.
Gizel got involved 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
6 months?
Yeah.
Wow. What was that like?
I mean, I read the script and listened to the music and fell in love with it. To be able to perform or to be able to represent a character that is going through such hardship at a young age, you really don't get that kind of writing, especially for a Latina woman. So I just felt so honored to be able to portray that.
Were there any nerves going into it? You have, I mean, both of you really, you've kind of done this you've done this before a number of times,
Yeah,
but
sure. The thing about it,
but both of you, I mean, it's a two-hander, but there's weight on both of your shoulders with this show.
well, you go. Do you want to say?
Yeah, I
Talk,
mean,
speak.
I mean, I graduated from college in 2011. Right out of school, I booked the first national tour of West Side Story, and I just started
You're
working.
old hat too. You're fine.
I'm an older than you think hat. But yeah, I mean, definitely prior to this, I was working as Princess Anna at the Hyperion Theater in Disneyland, and 90% of that show is Anna. You know, and she carries that entire, it's the journey of finding her sister, you know? And so I was already honored to be able to, you know, use that character as a vessel to be able to carry the weight of the material already.
Daphne, did you want to?
Having a role like this written and tailor-made. It's such a hefty, such a nuanced role that I still still have so much to work and play with. You know, now that we've opened, I can relax now and let myself discover even more. You know, I don't have to work as hard. I feel like, wow, you don't have to work as hard. Like, now you can discover things on a different, you know, a gear shift. And it's the kind of journey and the words, one word put together with the other has just, they're like stepping stones into a lot of different possibilities every night. I hope that's not too meta, but
No, that's beautiful.
it's an amazing experience for me as an actor to just, having done the work, let the words and the music speak for themselves. It's a great privilege to be able to have that happen.
Did Kiara, did she write the part for you? Was that ever discussed, whether or not it was written for you? Because there's a feeling of when you show up within 5 minutes, you're like, oh, that's her. Like, nobody could do that. This part is owned by this woman.
I consider that a great honor to let myself disappear into the part, you know? But yeah, aside from, yeah, speak.
We never imagined anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, whether that person is you or not, it's like when someone captures a little bit of someone's essence, and you're like, oh, this couldn't really exist outside of what this person has here, if that makes sense.
Sure. You know, and as a person that looks like me, no, but I mean, like, what's the fact of the matter is that it's such a beautiful piece of work, and it's going to live beyond me. Yeah. And there are going to be people that I don't know, that haven't probably been born yet, who are going to play these roles. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. And they are going to own these roles too, you know? That's a fact. So it is, yeah. It's like, I kind of joke, but it's like, wow, this is how Jessica Tandy must have felt when, you know, Streetcar happened, do you know? But this ain't that though. This is another time and another kind of role, because it's really, she's a hero, she's an every woman, she is one of the people that go unnoticed, and who has a story that is beyond profound.
You said that you started working on this in 2014. The obvious question there is, what was it like continuing to work on this during the 2016 campaign, when the language was, and currently still is because he's our president, or someone's president, was so heinous and vitriolic and racist? What was it like to suddenly be sort of thrown into a world where I'm sure this had even greater resonance all of a sudden?
Well, Kiara and I started working on it in 2011. And
more
so,
time.
yeah, so this is as much the Obama years as it is our current president.
Yeah, oftentimes people don't recognize that there were a lot of deportations that happened during.
Many, and the issues that, not only the issues that these two women are going through, but the greater experience of immigration policy in our country has been messed up for a long time. Not just pre-Obama, pre-Clinton, pre-Bush. So in that way, we were telling a story that's just not been noticed for a while. But yeah, of course, all kinds of changes in policy and rhetoric have affected the show. I mean, the most obvious example is that we opened this show for the first time at La Jolla Playhouse on November 6th, a Sunday night. And then the next Monday was off, November 7th, and November 8th, they had scheduled a performance. So
We were walking into the theater, and it was 47% to 47% by the time by the time the curtain went, by the end of the show, there had been a determination made, and just the palpable pall was...
It was really difficult. There was a talkback scheduled that night, and that talkback for the 30 people that came to that show, most of them stayed, and the cast, I happened to be there that night, and everyone came out on stage, and it was really just, it took us, it took me months to understand and to feel, and at the middle of it was our show, and I think we've tried to protect the show from being weighted down or undermined or punctured by all that stuff, because I think at the center of it is something that should remain whole and should remain loving and should remain present. And so I think in a lot of ways we try to protect it from what's happening now. There's a line in the show, a song that Daphne sings called "Over My Shoulder," and recently the person that's the head of ICE, he made a statement in the press like, undocumented folks in this country should be looking over their shoulder. We didn't intend that line to be like that. And that's what I mean by protecting the show, is to remember that like our show was here before, like Daphne said, our show is going to be here after, and the opportunities that it presents for artists who should have these opportunities are going to remain.
And I'll just say what I find incredibly annoying is when it's minimized because of some sort of timestamp. This show doesn't have a timestamp. I mean, it will in 20 years perhaps, but it doesn't call out administrations. It talks about a state that has been happening,
And this is a mother-daughter story. It's about a relationship.
Yeah, this isn't about
family, finding a bond that has been broken, that everyone can relate to, no matter what ethnicity you are. That's the power of this story.
The immigration story is almost at times, and I would say most of the play feeding the mother-daughter story rather than the mother-daughter story sort of theming a broader political idea about immigration. Right. And I think, as you said, there is so much kind of removed in regards to the story of immigration that it doesn't feel reactionary to like the daily onslaught of stories that we get, except for that one.
Yeah, I mean, rather than reactionary, I hope that it feels counterbalancing, and I hope that it feels healing towards the violence that's sort of,
it's not
being reported.
Pamphlet.
Not at all.
It never was meant to be. I think when you talk about protecting it, it's from being a pamphlet.
It doesn't even come off as like a not just reactionary, but like an attack on the politics of immigration right now. It's just how these two people are living in this story, and then what happens at the end of it, and what keeps them apart. It's not even in the final moments. You're not even making a statement about the wall or about the border. It's just kind of, that's their relationship now. Yeah. Can you talk about playing mother-daughter and what it was like to sort of build that relationship? Is that something that just comes out in rehearsals, or do you find you have to do that outside of the workplace as well?
Well, I feel like Daphne and I have this chemistry that just can't be
Miss
taught.
Daphne.
Miss Daphne and I. We just like have this bond, and we talk about this all the time. She's a Scorpio and I'm a Cancer, and we're like perfect fit. But seriously, we both open ourselves up to each other, and we both allow ourselves to be as vulnerable as possible. And because we trust each other that much, magic happens, and real emotion happens. And you don't get that a lot. And I'm so, so grateful and honored to be able to work with this woman right here, you know, and not to mention to be able to play a role that shows the strength in women. 2 women leading a show, 2 women who are intellectuals. You know, they're not, you know, based off of a stereotype. They're people who you could look up to. And
Well, at the same time, flawed like all people are.
but yes,
Well,
yes.
like real, you know, like
Yes, real people.
real people. It's like, yeah, they call it flawed when in fact it's real, which is a reminder, which was part of the conversation of like post-election being in a fetal position for good 6 months.
Oh, I just
for
got
me.
back from my fetal position
Yeah.
just to do this. I'm
Yeah.
going to return to it in
I
a
was gonna say,
minute.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
return to
yeah,
mine.
it's a default, you know, and I think that it's probably healthy in a bigger picture. But yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say. No, it's okay. First of all, about us, I think that, you know, you can't buy chemistry, and I think that we're really, really lucky to have an incredible chemistry where we can just lock into each other and go on a ride. Like, that's really, really wonderful. We like really care about telling these stories. And yeah, something about the fact that it's not normal for 2 Latino women to have such heavy lifting, like a show that requires 2 mic packs. Do you know? Because you're not getting off that stage and you're gonna do a lot of turn hugging, you know? It's a wild ride and it's a lot of work, and you're not used to
Really
seeing 2
don't get
people
off
that
the
look like
stage at
us.
all.
Yeah.
For the most part, right?
She really didn't get off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Like a
jumping up and
marathon.
yeah.
I feel like an athlete.
It is.
Yeah, that's
You
incredible.
are an athlete.
You are an athlete.
I don't think anybody could walk out of that show and not think that the 2 of you are doing something pretty athletic.
Yeah. I eat.
It's like it just shows the power.
Yeah.
It shows the power behind who these women are. And you know, my character suffers through depression. You know, she has and this is something that is a real problem that happens with teenagers. They suffer from depression, whether it be bullying, whether it be problems at home. And these are things that need to be addressed, need to be
Or
recognized.
simply hormonal.
Hormonal,
right? I mean,
but either
just
way,
that
it should never be quiet down. It should be recognized, and these kids should need to be listened to. And to see the journey that this girl goes through, she goes from this dark place and then she finds the light. And that's what I mean with the power that these people have. Power that sometimes you don't realize you have, and someone else reminds you or shows you that you do have the power to get out of the dark, to find your light, your happiness. And I think that that is such an important thing that this story holds. And for teenagers that are Olivia's age, that do go through these problems, that it's important for them to know that they are not alone, and that there is hope for them to find happiness.
How did you go about casting the supporting parts in the play? Because everybody's wonderful. You cast one of my favorite supporting actors of all time, David Patrick Kelly. He's just
DP.
deep. Like, I mean, I didn't know he was in the show, and I went to it, and it was almost distracting for me for the first 10 minutes because I've never seen him live, and I just kept going like Twin Peaks references, and his 80s action movies just started coming up in my head. But he's so great, you know. He's such a presence. But how did you go about casting all these other parts? They're wonderful.
Well, first of all, DP has been with us as long as Daphne.
Yes.
DP's been with us from the first for the first iteration of the show.
Love that.
Our director, Lear de Bessonet, I believe one of her many genius gifts is casting. So she really led us through this process with a beautiful list of people that we could see, and a beautiful spirit of looking for people who were authentic in their bodies and true in their bodies, and moved in a way that felt like a real person rather than someone who was being conscious or contained in what they were doing. And we, I look for the same thing with voices when people were singing, like someone who felt they had a unique in their voice, conscious in their voice in a cool, interesting way, rather than trained or trying to be like someone else. And so then we sort of thought of it as a puzzle, where like if one person is shaped this way, then we get to have this person shaped this way, and so that it all fits together. But I would give huge props to Lear for her experience in the theater community here and her vision of what an ensemble should look like.
It's also kind of, it's interesting that you say puzzle, because it's kind of laid out like a puzzle at the top of the show, where they're all kind of moving around each other, and they've opened up for the two leads to walk through, and then they move around each other, and then as the show progresses, you see where in this puzzle they actually fit in.
That took us a while to figure out.
It's really cool. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's definitely arrived at from much conversation and experimentation, and I would give props to that, to our choreographer, Danny Mefford, who did a really great job of helping conceive of what we want is we want a show that's like America. We want a show that proposes that America's full of a lot of different kinds of people, and everyone has a unique voice and a space for that. And so how could we do that within the confines of a theater and the confines of an ensemble in a musical? And I think that Danny and Lear like really nailed that, in the sense of those folks that are the ensemble, they are the witnesses. One of the things that I remember Danny saying really early in the process was that Beatriz and Olivia are the only two people in the room who don't know they're in a musical. And those other 8 people are us. They are the audience, and they're watching everything and witnessing, and they're there to help the story move along. They're there to support these two women in their journey with each other. And to me, that's like a spiritual tenet.
The word witness even comes up with the two men who are looking for a witness for their vows that day.
Absolutely, and witness, and of course, when we're ending in a courtroom, and we're,
right.
so.
But tell them what we call them.
What you came up with.
I was in a period of meditating a lot, so I came up with Soul Tribe, because they're just bear witness, and they're like our soul tribe. And what would your soul tribe look like? Would it look just like you? Well, what kind of aspects? It's not about what your exterior is. It's just, a certain frequency of humanity that you bring. So the soul tribe.
Yeah, I feel that. And the young woman, forgive me for not remembering her name, the young woman who plays the Yosemite Guide is incredible. She's an amazing R&B song.
LaToya Edwards.
Yeah.
She plays a young woman named Pearl. She plays a young woman named Pearl who is a junior ranger at Yellowstone National Park.
Excuse me.
Yeah, though Yosemite is also beautiful.
I don't want to trash Yosemite.
No, not at all. Not at all. But she... in the original play of Chiara's, Yellowstone is very important in that play, and as a goal for Olivia in that play. And so we took that and expanded on it in the musical, and we just thought Yellowstone National Park was deserving of a slow jam.
Yellowstone. No, it's coming back to me.
Yellowstone, every day is the first time, and and it's one of my favorite moments in the show, because I think it's funny.
It's really funny.
It's funny, but it's also
nowhere.
Sincere. Yeah. And why not?
Sexy slow jam.
It's a sexy slow jam for a national park.
It's one of those. I love
why
you,
not?
Daphne, but Yellowstone is my favorite song.
Mine too.
There's a moment in the show where the ensemble is really kicking Yellowstone hard, and they say Olivia, and then there's this moment where Gizel turns and sees them for the first time, and that's one of my favorite moments in the show, because it's just like the imaginary world and the musical world and then Olivia's world are all coming together in this sense of wonder. If I was visiting a national park and those 8 people were dancing around telling me this is the way to the thermal springs, I'd be like, show me the way.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Right there.
Hi, my name's Logan. I'm a theater artist, and so first of all, I just want to say congratulations on making such a wonderful, universal intersectional piece of theater, which will no doubt go on to inspire future, theater artists and theater creators. So I was just curious, who are some theater artists or creators who have inspired you, or maybe who are currently inspiring you?
I know it sounds so corny. Like, I'm so inspired by the people that I'm working with right now. That's what comes to mind. And I'm a huge encourager of people to express themselves and write their stories, write their own stories, because that's where some incredible, like, you can't make it up.
Yeah. I agree. I'm also very inspired by the creative team and the people in our cast. But I'm also inspired every day by people in New York. Just like walking in the street and seeing some interesting person on the train singing a song with their headphones on, not realizing how loud they really are. But like, I love it, and it's inspirational. And so, yeah.
Kiara is my hero. That I especially when you mentioned that, creating a piece of intersectional theater, I think Kiara leads the way with that, and props to her.
Next question.
And Erin.
Hey guys, so I'm just curious about the whole process of how these musicals come together. Like, what did you guys work on? Like, were there any changes that you guys did during the production?
There's I'll try to keep the answer short because it's difficult. So this has been
6 years.
Yeah, 7 years that we've been writing it. This is our second production, and just for example, between our last production and this one, we cut 2 characters, 3 songs. It used to be 2 acts. Now it's 1 act, so you're probably missing about 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes shorter. And
Wait, can I interrupt and just
Yeah.
ask you a question? I imagine, was there a big period of time that over the course of the story between those 2 acts?
No, they were pretty much the next day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
and
you
it's
didn't
the
have to
same
do a
moment.
kind of
It's the
like
same
a-
moment in the show now where that the beautiful clip that got shown was to a song called Baggage, and that's a sort of like high point of the show. And then the next scene that happens after that is literally like 1 hour or 1 rest stop past where that song took place, and that's where the act break was. But that's just one example of changes that were made, and there was probably about 18 months between the La Jolla production and this one. And once we get in the rehearsal room, then we see what these folks are doing and their particular skill set or things that once it goes on their body and they start doing it, and something may or may not be right for that actor or might not work as well for that singer. We're always looking to make those changes to help the story get told better, but also to help each performer shine in the way that best suits their talent as well. So there's all kinds of little things that get changed to help both the actor and the story get clearer.
It's like theatrical couture.
Yes. It's made for these guys.
One more.
Yes.
Oh, right here.
So we love this country because it's a free country, right? I think we all agree on that. I was just curious if you guys faced any kind of censorship. Because in my personal, I'm into arts as well, and I do want to talk about topics that are kind of government related. And I want to go as far as I consider I should be capable of, because I live in a free country, without getting to sound hateful or nothing like that, because I'm very much thankful and happy where I'm at. Did you guys face any kind of censorship? There was things you were told not to talk about, or there was not a point where you were concerned about how far you were able to go without being misunderstood by anyone?
I'll answer that really quickly, but then I'd love to hear these folks answer, because I think there's another version of that happens between them and the audience. But I would say that we as writers have never faced, no one has ever told us you can't say that or you can't go that far, and that's because we've worked with La Jolla Playhouse and with the Public Theater, which are 2 institutions that fundamentally give space to artists to explore what they need to explore.
Yeah, and that's what theater is about, you know, expressing yourself, making people, provoking thought, provoking questions, making them feel something, whether it's good or bad. That's the whole point of it. So I would say continue in that journey and ask whatever you want to ask, say whatever you want to say, as long as it's in an artistic way of expression. Yeah.
I agree. We've been very supported by the institutions that have, underwritten the piece. But when it comes to the audience, there's it incites a lot of passion with some people. There's a hegemony out there. Sometimes it feels like. Threatening. And actually, full disclosure, part of my work as an actor was to deliberately work hard at not being small, because I am not a small character. So my character has informed my Daphne, I think that when you do bold work, it's threatening. It's going to threaten people. Art is expression, and we're talking about something. So yes, you're gonna do it. You're gonna get it back. But
And sometimes it's in a positive light. Like sometimes somebody can come from a show and be like, wow, this story's so close to my home. I've never felt a story this way. I'm connected to this. Wow. Or someone's like, well, that person wasn't really nice to you. You're like, wait, I'm an actor. Like, it was just a character. Like, but they get really upset. They're like, your mother shouldn't have done that. It's like,
Right.
Okay, all right. Like, what is it that you are going through? You
Tell
know
the
what I mean?
writer that. The writer wrote that. I was just acting.
But it's interesting though.
why
because
would you ever make those choices?
Sometimes people really get fired up and they get affected by it, and sometimes it's in a negative way and sometimes it's in a positive way, but that's the beauty of theater.
And it's a beautiful show. Congratulations. It's currently running at the Public. Everybody, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's called Miss You Like Hell, and please give them a round of applause. Let's hear it.
Thank you.